So we are looking at a really compelling stack of sources for today's deep dive.
Oh, these have a fascinating stack today.
Yeah, we've got literary critiques, some sociological analyses of modern relationships, and just pages of incredibly passionate audience reaction notes.
People have a lot of feelings about this one.
They really do. And, our mission today is to sift through all this material to unpack one of the most honestly, painfully realistic relationships in modern fiction.
Right.
I mean, Emma Morley and Dexter Mayhew from The Story One Day. But before we get into the actual mechanics of their dynamic, I want to pose a question to you, the listener. It's drawn straight from the core of these critiques.
Okay, let's hear it.
Can you meet the right person at the exact wrong time?
Man, that's the ultimate relationship hypothetical, right?
Yeah, it really is.
It's the kind of dilemma that keeps people staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m, just wondering about the sliding doors of their own lives. And when you looked at the literary analyses in our stack, what really stands out is how this story essentially weaponizes that question through its narrative structure.
Right, the timeline.
Yeah, because we follow Emma and Dexter over decades, but the audience only gets to check in on them on the exact same calendar day, July 15th, every single year.
Which is such a brutal structure. I mean, it acts like a time-lapse camera for a relationship.
Totally.
You skip all the mundane, day-to-day connective tissue. You don't see the slow fades or the gradual realizations.
Then it's dropped right back into the mess.
Right. Instead, you get these sharp, really focused snapshots of how they are navigating their careers, successes, failures, and personal growth.
Yeah.
And the jump cuts force you to experience the just jolting reality of how much people change in a single year.
Which is exactly why the source material stresses that this is fundamentally an anti-rom-com.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like a traditional fairy tale focuses on the mechanics of falling in love, right?
Yeah.
The grand gestures, the misunderstandings, the dramatic airport chase.
Yeah, they treat love as a destination.
Exactly. But the critiques we are looking at point out that One Day treats love as this highly volatile element. It's subjected to the brutal, totally unpredictable laboratory of real life.
Right.
It's a masterclass in learning what a connection actually requires to survive.
And to understand why their timing is always so agonizingly mismatched, we can't just look at the external events happening to them.
No, not at all.
We have to look at the psychological profiles of who these two people actually are when their orbits first cross at 22.
Right, because the friction keeping them apart isn't external.
No, it's entirely internal.
Yeah. Let's pull from the character breakdowns in the notes. Emma Morley is presented as fiercely intelligent, compassionate, and really grounded.
Yeah.
She has this massive amount of ambition to change the world. However, the psychological mechanism at play here is just a crippling case of imposter syndrome.
Oh, completely crippling.
She is quietly confident in her moral beliefs, yet entirely unsure of her own worth in the marketplace of life, She represents the ordinary person trying to build a meaningful existence from scratch, but she's paralyzed by the fear of mediocrity.
And then, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we have Dexter Mayhew.
The golden boy.
The golden boy. He is universally popular, charming, and just insulated by immense privilege.
Yeah, that insulation is key.
Like, while Emma is paralyzed by the fear of not being special enough to make a difference, Dexter's just looking for the next party.
And privilege really is the operative word there. One of the sociological articles in our stack delves into how extreme privilege actually stunts emotional development.
Really? How so?
Well, resilience is built through friction. You hit an obstacle, you figure out how to overcome it, and you grow.
Right. That makes sense.
But Dexter has never had friction. Doors just open for him automatically, and that creates a very specific modern affliction, the paradox of choice.
Oh, wow.
He has limitless options, but absolutely no internal compass to guide him, which leads to this profound aimlessness.
I was thinking about this dynamic while reading the source material, and I actually came up with an analogy for it.
Okay, let's hear it.
Look at them in those early days. Emma is a tugboat.
A tugboat?
Stay with me. She has this heavy, powerful engine of ambition, but her rudder is completely broken because of her self-doubt.
Okay, I see that.
So she has the drive, but she doesn't know how to steer herself toward her worth. Dexter, on the other hand, is a sleek, expensive sailboat with a perfect rudder.
Right, he knows the social scene.
Exactly. He knows exactly how to navigate high society and social situations. But he has no engine, no wind. He just drifts wherever his privilege blows him.
That's Let me push back on that metaphor just a bit, or rather, maybe refine it based on the relationship dynamics we're analyzing.
Okay, sure.
If you tie a tugboat with a broken rudder to a sailboat with no engine, they don't actually balance each other out.
No.
No, they sink each other. The sailboat gets dragged in circles, and the tugboat just burns out its engine carrying dead weight.
Oh, wow. That is a dark way to look at it, but it actually explains so much.
Yeah, it really does.
But if tying them together too early sinks them, why did they even gravitate toward each other in the first place? Like, why didn't they just pass in the night?
Because of what they temporarily provided for one another in the absence of a romantic commitment.
Okay.
The literary critiques note that their early bond bypassed romance for something more foundational. It was this radical grounding.
Radical grounding, yeah.
Think about the iconic couples we consume in pop culture. The heightened dramatic romances, Jamie and Claire from Outlander crossing centuries.
Oh, yeah.
Or MCU characters dealing with universe-ending stakes. Damon and Elena in the Vampire Diaries operating on, supernatural adrenaline.
Right. The stakes in those stories are always life or death. The drama is all external.
Exactly. But Emma and Dexter's connection rests on an entirely different foundation. The stakes are simply surviving your 20s.
Which feels like life or death sometimes.
It really does. And Emma gave Dexter the anchor he desperately lacked. She was the one person who didn't just blindly validate his privilege.
Right. She called him out.
And Dexter provided levity for Emma. He forced the tugboat to cut the engine for a minute and actually enjoy the water,
Yeah.
They provided a salve for each other's neuroses.
Which brings us to the agonizing timeline. Because they are functioning as these complementary salves rather than equal partners, their journey just violently clashes with the realities of adulthood.
It really does.
I mean, the audience reaction notes are filled with people just screaming at the pages or the screen because of the timing.
Oh, totally.
The mismatched life stages, the competing career trajectories, and frankly, Dexter's immense emotional immaturity keep creating this friction that pushes them apart.
And the time-lapse format is crucial here. Yeah. As they enter different careers and other relationships, we watch them being forced to forge their own identities. The psychological concept of ambiguous loss comes up in one of the sociological papers we reviewed, and it perfectly describes their years apart.
Ambiguous loss.
Yeah, ambiguous loss is when you are mourning a relationship that hasn't definitively ended, but it isn't fully realized either. You are just in this agonizing limbo.
Man, that's heavy. And I look at all that time apart. The ambiguous loss, the near misses, the horrible other relationships they both endure. And the audience consensus seems to treat it as a grand tragedy of missed opportunities.
Yeah, that's the common read.
But I actually want to challenge that narrative.
Yeah.
Based on what we just established about the tugboat and the sailboat, wasn't growing apart the only way this could ever actually work?
How do you mean?
Well, if they had forced a romantic, committed relationship on day one when he was aimless and she was insecure, it would have been a disaster.
Oh, definitely.
Dexter's immaturity would have completely crushed Emma's fragile self-worth, and Emma's intense need for a grounded life would have suffocated Dexter before he was ready. So I don't see the wrong time as a tragedy. I see it as a necessary psychological incubator.
The critiques in our stack actually support that theory, even if the audience reactions fight against it, because we are conditioned to demand instant romantic gratification.
We really are. We want the happy ending now.
Exactly. But the reality of early 20s codependency is that you often mold yourself to fit the other person before you even know who you are.
Wow. Yeah.
The distance was mandatory. Dexter had to be stripped of his privilege. He had to fail spectacularly in his career, experience real loss, and face his own emptiness without Emma there to cushion the blow.
He had to build his own engine.
He did. And Emma had to fix her rudder. She had to build her career, find her voice, and realize she didn't need a golden boy to validate her existence.
Right. She had to see her own worth.
She had to recognize her value independently. If they hadn't gone through that brutal incubation period apart, they just wouldn't have possessed the necessary tools to sustain a real partnership later.
That makes total sense.
Love doesn't just exist perfectly, It has to be earned through the acquisition of maturity.
And that brings us to what is easily the most fiercely debated topic in our source material.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, the audience notes we have are practically divided into warring factions over one simple question.
Let me guess.
Did Dexter truly deserve Emma by the end? Like, if that painful incubation was necessary for him to grow up, does that excuse the damage he caused along the way?
This is where the sociological analysis of gender dynamics in modern relationships really comes into play.
Okay, unpack that for us.
Well, the critics arguing against Dexter point out a very common, frustrating trope. He takes a decade to mature, frequently makes entirely selfish decisions, and basically treats Emma as an emotional safety net while he explores every hedonistic impulse available to him.
It's infuriating. You read the accounts of Emma waiting in the wings.